Hello, so we're getting going with our micro video lectures. In this series of lectures, I'm going to talk about what critical thinking is. So we'll see what that is. So let's get going. So first we're going to give a definition of critical thinking, and it's the systematic evaluation or formulation of beliefs or statements by rational standards. So there are a couple pieces here. There's what do we mean by beliefs or statements, what are rational standards, and what do we mean by systematic evaluation or formulation. So by beliefs, there's a sort of different narrow senses of the word belief we might use. So in one sense, I might mean things that are very important to me, or things that I believe in, like I believe in God, or I believe in myself, or I believe in my family, or I don't believe in that. But when we're talking about beliefs, they're the things that we really have really deep commitments to that are very important to us. On the other hand, sometimes we use the word belief to flag uncertainty. So I might say, I believe she likes him, but she doesn't act that way all the time, or something like that, where it's, it might happen, it might be the case, but I'm not sure, and we use the word believe to flag that uncertainty. But we can think of belief in a wider sense, where belief is just any attitude I have that says how things are or how they should be. So I believe that the moon orbits the Earth, or I believe that I had oatmeal for breakfast, or I believe that justice is important. Those may or may not be important attitudes to me, but they're just how things are, or, I believe that it's whatever time it is. So what makes them beliefs? Well, they can be true or false, and they're just attitudes that say how things are or how they should be. And then if they are that way or they should be that way, then the belief is true. And if they aren't that way or they shouldn't be that way, then the belief is false. And so this includes beliefs like, God is important and God is not important, or God exists and God doesn't exist. But it also includes beliefs like, I have 15 pens in my drawer. Well, maybe I do and maybe I don't, and is it important whether it's 15 or 14, or 16? Maybe not. So that wide range of just views I have about how things are. And you can be more or less certain in those, so I don't, you can be extremely certain. I believe that, I'm absolutely convinced that God exists, or I'm absolutely convinced that God doesn't exist, or I'm not sure. So they come in all degrees of certainty, and we can separately talk about how accurate they are. So when we use the word belief, the point is here we're talking about this very wide class of things, not the very narrow, not the narrower sense. Okay, so that's beliefs. What do we mean by evaluation or formulation by rational standards? Well, so an evaluation is just asking, well, if the goal of a belief is to be true, then we're asking, is the belief true, or is it likely to be true? Are we doing a good job in believing it on the evidence that we have? So that's where the rational standards come in. We're asking, how well is the belief, and in particular, how well is the truth of the belief supported by the reasons that we have for the belief? So, is it true? Do the reasons for the belief, are the reasons for the truth of the belief good reasons or not? Systematic evaluation or formulation, well, we mean we're not just kind of making it up on the fly. We have some general methods that we can apply in different cases. And so it might, we've seen some of these already from Socrates. So definitions, finding arguments, drawing arguments out, and then evaluating arguments. And we already saw Socrates doing all that, and that's what we will be continuing to do among other things. Those are some particularly important methods we have. So what's the opposite of critical thinking? Would be uncritical thinking. What might that be? Well, it's basically, say believing without adequate evidence, perhaps making logical or statistical mistakes, believing other people on matters about which they're not reliable, believing sort of whatever first comes into your head all the time, believing on emotional grounds, or maybe believing only on emotional grounds. We'll think some about how emotions may or may not provide reasons, and also how they can lead us astray. So it's not so much about it. What it's more about is how to think, and less about both persuasion and also what to think. So hopefully good reasoning is persuasive, but there are lots of ways of being persuasive that don't involve good reasoning, lots of rhetoric and appeals to emotion and so on. And those can be very useful and legitimate ways of communicating, but they're not what we're interested in this class. What we're interested in this class is this evaluation of beliefs by rational standards and doing so systematically. And that's sort of the how to think. And there may be some beliefs we need to have in order to do that, but it's focused on applying these standards to whatever subject matter we're thinking of. Whose beliefs are we evaluating? Well, they might be mine or yours, whoever's doing the critical thinking, and the purpose of that would be for me to change my mind, or for you to change your mind as you're engaging in it on your own. We might also engage in critical thinking in a group setting where, if we have a political activist or a business plan or politicians or whatever, and we need to achieve some sort of consensus about what we should do, and that's going to rely on some sort of consensus about which beliefs are true and which beliefs are false. And so we can apply it in coming to achieve consensus. And then also we might then apply critical thinking just to other people's beliefs. And there are different reasons why we might do that. We might be trying to change their minds, or we might be trying to decide whether or not to agree with them. So what's critical thinking? It's going to be systematically evaluating beliefs for truth, and in particular looking at, do we have good reasons for or against the truth of the belief? And it could be our own individual beliefs, group beliefs that we're a part of, or others' beliefs. So we'll be seeing what that's like as we proceed through the course. We've already seen what it's like a little bit with Socrates, and we'll be seeing more.